It's December 6th, 2020, and welcome to episode 47 of the BABYMETAL podcast. We gather in the podcast Discord server on alternate weeks to discuss news and thoughts on the past and future projects of BABYMETAL. We invite you to join us, whether you're a longtime fan or have only just arrived. I'm Paul, and I am joined by Kevin.
Hey, welcome back, everybody.
And Callie.
Hello, everyone.
And quite possibly Callie's cat. Last time,
Maybe.
Callie's cat was featured quite prominently.
BABYMETAL this.
Yeah, exactly.
Had some strong opinions and words to say about the Kadokawa last time.
That's right. Yeah, so this is the second episode where we were looking at this very large 10th anniversary special thing that was published and has a bunch of interviews and things like that. And so we've gone through the first half. I think we've made it up to page 113, if you're following along at home, which constitutes basically the first three of five spiritual message interviews, and we'll do the last couple today, and other things in the last half. But we'll get to that later. First, there's actually been a fair amount of news that's happened in the past 2 weeks that we can maybe talk through. There's sort of two large blocks of magazine news and television news that I think we could talk through. There's still things to talk about and sub things to talk about, but it's another season of being in magazines, I guess.
Yeah.
So
is that ever out of season? I feel like that's just always happening these days.
Well, yeah, although it does seem like they come in waves. So there have been shows where we haven't had magazine news, but yeah, there's a bunch of the usual suspects. Actually, they're all usual suspects. I guess that means we should be getting another Hedobon one soon too. So the first one I have down here is Young Guitar, January 2021 issue that comes out on December 10th, and they have the cover of that. They have over 100 pages on BABYMETAL alone, which is impressive. Although I think my guess is that a large chunk of those are song transcriptions. They have a feature story, which is a 10th anniversary look back on history, and they have interviews with Su-Metal, Mo-Metal, and Koba-Metal, talking about... so the Su-Metal and Mo-Metal interviews are 10 years of history in 10 key words, and the Koba-Metal interview is something about what is guitar in BABYMETAL, and I think that sounds interesting. So it's not necessarily going to be just duplicating what we already have had. There's scores for Gimme Chocolate, The One, and Papaya, and there's guitar technique analysis by Leda, transcription and commentary, and then an in-depth review of the albums and videos. So it's actually pretty elaborate. This one I'm looking forward to, I think.
Looking forward to translations.
I do feel like Young Guitar kind of milks this, you know?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I don't know what, this is like the fourth or fifth, Young Guitar I've gotten in the modern age. One thing I would like to do and have not done, I don't know why, but is to compare the scores that they publish in Young Guitar with the scores that they have in these Yamaha books of, like, you can buy the album scored.
Right.
And I don't know if they're the same or not. I kind of assume they're not, but I wonder who's more right.
What would make you think they're not?
Well, so one thing that makes me think they're not is that they credit the person who's done the transcription. So I think, now I'm forgetting his name, but the sort of briefly appearing newish Kami guitar player did a bunch of the Metal Galaxy ones recently. I've forgotten his name, but anyway, and I think actually Leda's done some on this one. But I think this is actually super cool to have Leda in particular writing about this, like what it's like to play these things.
Has he done one of these before? Who did the last one? I think he did the last one too, didn't he?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's possible.
Yeah, well, maybe it could be looked up. But anyway, they do have a fair amount of sort of like Kami participation though in this magazine. So that one's probably, of the ones that are coming out, I think that's the most interesting. We also have Metal Hammer Japan. So they launched fairly recently, like a Japan edition of this British magazine. And this is volume 4. This is coming out on December 16th. And this also has Baby Metal on the cover. I forget now what volume. It was maybe 1 or 2. They had basically transcribed they translated the English, like the British Metal Hammer interview, over to Japanese and published it.
Oh, okay.
In their
that just feels backwards.
Yeah, but anyway, so they've made it to volume 4, and this one has they have the cover. It has a feature with an interview, and it has a double-sided poster. So that's pretty interesting. They just right out of the gate say you're gonna have to buy 2, maybe 3, if you want to keep one.
Oh, okay.
Wonderful.
Yeah, because you can't put both sides on. But so we've seen the posters, and each one is one is Sue Metal and one is Moa Metal.
At least they're reasonably priced. It's not like you're paying, like $30 for a magazine.
True.
Right. Yeah, these are all 1,200 yen was Young Guitar. 1650 yen is Metal Hammer Japan. Yeah, they're all in that like sub 2,000 yen area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the single photos are so gorgeous. Mm-hmm. With like the glow of the light behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whoever they've been letting photograph them lately have been killing it. Between these and the Kadokawa, they've been some really nice photos coming out.
I'm kind of wondering, I mean, like with all of these posters, does anybody have them all up somewhere? I mean, it's got to be kind of like just a really kind of bizarre looking room.
No, I haven't personally, but
I bet somebody out there does.
I think Lily displays a lot of the magazine stuff because she cuts a lot out and displays them.
Oh, really?
I'm pretty sure that I ordered 2 of these. Like I think I'm probably not going to actually take one out and put it up. But if I do, I wonder if there's a way to make it reversible. Like have a frame that's actually fully transparent, has no back.
Yeah. So
you could just flip the thing around. There must be such things.
Or you can dangle it from the ceiling so it kind of spins.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
The airflow goes around the room.
Or remember when digital photo frames were popular and a thing? Just get one of those, put it on the wall, and have them rotate. Just have a slideshow playing.
What else? The other big one is PMC has another issue coming out, volume 18, coming out on December 22nd. They have the cover of this. They have possibly 112 pages, although I think that may actually just be the length of the whole thing. And that has an interview with Sue Metal and Moa Metal together, Kobo Metal and Mikiko Metal. So we're getting a lot of interviews from Mikiko Metal.
It'll be interesting to compare and contrast all of these interviews that are long with what we've gotten in the Kadokawa.
Yeah. I'm hoping they're not all the same.
Right. That's
yeah.
That was the underlying message between why I might think it might be interesting to compare them all.
Right. Yeah. I like the cover. The cover of the PMC is nice.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a certain similarity, I suppose, to all of these. One thing that was interesting that PMC did is they did a survey, a questionnaire that they sent out to readers, asking sort of about like, I don't know, did you guys do the survey or read it?
No.
No, I haven't.
I did it, but I wrote in English, and I suspect that it was for naught. But anyway, it sort of had separate sections about, I don't know, sort of performances and music videos, and what music video would count as their turning point, what performance would count as their turning point, what would you show to an international fan? So I guess there's going to be some kind of a sort of reader feedback section in that, which will be possibly interesting to see. And if any of it comes up in English, then perhaps I wrote some of it, but I think that's unlikely.
Probably.
The form was not non-Japanese speaker friendly.
Right.
So I interacted with that form the same way Koba used to interact with email. Okay, and then I guess the last thing is there's the British Metal Hammer recently had an activity book, volume 2, which apparently it's sort of like a kid's game book, like coloring in and spot the differences and where's Waldo kind of things, and it's all pretty goofy. But one of the activities was spot the differences with the drawing of Sue Metal. So did you guys look at it and try to spot the differences?
I'm actually looking at it right now. I've spotted 4 of the 7, but I can't get past how kind of mediocre the art is.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it is actually.
I guess we're spoiled a little bit by very good fan art.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Presumably this is actually for people who barely know who BABYMETAL is. I actually didn't count to see if I made it to 7. I spotted a few. And actually all of these things are scheduled happily to be released in time, basically to coincide with the best of album release. So PMC is the latest of these, coming out on December 22nd. But so I am pleased to say that I can consolidate all of those things and ship them to myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was going to be fairly annoyed by a January release date, because I don't know, whatever. I would rather, I don't want to wait on the best of stuff, but at the same time, I really don't want to be doing more consolidating and shipping. They need to stop publishing things.
Oh yeah, this year's been very expensive.
Yeah.
Even though we haven't even seen them live.
Shipping now actually is it's not great. I think it's still the case that, at least to the US, like Japan Post won't send stuff. Is that right? Or have they started again?
That I'm not sure. The last couple of things I've gotten have all been DHL.
Yeah. And it is, so Tencel will use DHL if you ask them to, and Osmart will send things DHL.
Mm-hmm.
But it's, oh my goodness, is that expensive?
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, this last thing that I got was just unreal how expensive that was. I mean, it was a few magazines. It wasn't a big box. It wasn't even very heavy. I don't know what the deal was, but it was like 3 digits worth of shipping cost.
Oh my word.
And like, I just figured, okay, it's going to be heavy, and big or something, but it showed up and it's like this little light box. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I almost thought this wasn't worth it. This really wasn't worth it. But because this was one of the few times that actually it cost more to ship the stuff than it cost to buy the stuff in it. But anyway, so I feel a little burned by DHL. I don't want to do 2 shipments. I want to get everything all at once if I can do that next time.
On the one hand, though, DHL has been pretty incredible, at least on where I'm at. I'll get stuff a day, maybe 2 days before the scheduled delivery date. So at least it's fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is really good.
Yeah, I'm definitely impressed with them. Also, the fact that they've kept going. I mean, like, they have been a reliable way to get stuff out of Japan that has not existed. And I don't know, I'm of 2 minds. I do still feel like I was overcharged, but at the same time, I do support them and what they do.
There needs to be a DHL, just stick it on the boat and let it sail option for half the price.
That would be nice. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when Japan Post gets started again, EMS has actually been pretty reliable for me. Like, that's their higher end shipping, and that has worked pretty well. So,
right.
We have also television news. So, this not a lot to say here, but the Video Music Awards that we talked about last time, the MTV Video Music Awards Japan show happened. I actually really didn't watch any of this. I mean, like, I kind of skimmed over it. They played Papayao. They didn't have an interview. They didn't even show them receiving the award, I don't think.
Nope.
There was a little bit of a message ahead of time that they released, and that was kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, the broadcast itself was kind of anticlimactic, but they got, they won something. That's cool. What did they win? Best album? I think they did.
Yeah, best album.
And the Songs of Tokyo thing, that aired some time ago. There's a longer version. They played a song that they didn't have in the internet broadcast. They played BMC, and they had a slightly longer interview than we got to see. And we finally have a broadcast date for that. So it's January 3rd.
Happy New Year.
Yep. And then just recently they added a Christmas show. So on actual Christmas Eve evening, they're playing on the music station Super Live 2020 in amongst many other groups. So we're not sure exactly when. There's like a 6-hour window, but sometime on what would be like Christmas night in Japan.
Right.
I love this audience thing.
Yeah, it's pretty good. You can submit to TV Asahi a photograph no larger than 2 gigabytes to have your face plastered on a digital Santa that dances in the background, I guess.
It's amazing.
The photo they have on the website giving an example of what it's going to look like is kind of hilarious.
Yeah. But it would be pretty excellent to actually be able to see yourself like bobbing around on this little avatar egg thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to actually give them a 2 gigabyte file of my face. If they're going to give me that much space, I kind of want to use it. I feel obligated to send a really large photo.
Right. I don't think that makes your avatar any bigger, though.
No, I don't think so either.
That would be pretty hilarious, though.
But it's a 2 gig file limit. In what world have you seen that?
I know, that's huge. And I guess it's a stationary photo, right? I mean, like you can't be rocking out because that would presumably look very weird on a avatar. But how do you make it so that you can find yourself? And what if your little avatar's in the back? I don't know.
Yeah, good question.
But it's very funny. It's a very funny idea. I assume that they are going to actually do like crowd shots of some kind.
I would think so. You're just going to have to pause it and pixel peep.
Yeah. But okay, anyway, so that'll be amusing briefly. I think that's it on the TV news. We got a new announcement from Knotfest. It has been rescheduled now to, I think, 2 years later than it was originally going to be, basically.
Yeah.
So it was originally going to be end of March 2020. Then they rescheduled it to January 2021. And then they skipped April 2021 and went straight to April 2022.
Mm-hmm.
So BABYMETAL was scheduled in March 2020, but they have sort of explicitly said, we don't know if we're doing this or not. That's a long time from now.
Yeah, it's probably smart on their part to just say, screw next year. We feel pretty confident about 2022. Yeah.
Because, I mean, they do plan things a little bit in advance, but it could well be that, they may have something planned for Fox Day 2022. This is landing kind of right in that Fox Day season.
Yeah.
So we another thing we got was, we're like a week away now from the Rockmecon show. So, in fact, this probably won't even be on the podcast feed before that, but who knows? And so they're starting to ramp up a little bit. We got a merch photo of the towel and the stuff that we like. I think Moa has the long sleeve tee and Sue has the towel. Is that right?
That's correct.
It's a terrible, terrible photo. I don't know what they were doing.
Even for the Koba flip phone camera from 2006, it's a terrible photo.
It's not even like they're recreating an original photo. It's just plain a bad photo.
It's just bad.
I think I'd like to think that actually it's taken at Rockmecon like while they're practicing or something.
It could be.
But it's just so, to paint a visual image with words here, it's just like a dark black background. They're holding up black merchandise, so you can't tell the difference. Like you can't see where the merchandise ends and the black background begins.
Yeah.
Sue is standing behind Moa, so you mostly can't see Sue at all. Like her head's kind of poking out.
It's bad. It's 86% black. Just black.
Oh, but I bet it compresses really well. So you could get a lot of pixels out of 2 gigabytes. Anyway, yeah, it's the thought, if the thought counts, is nice.
Yeah, that's true. The towel does look great. I'm looking forward to getting my hands on that.
Yeah, those actually, the two things they're holding are the two things that I happened to get.
Yeah.
I didn't have a choice about the the long sleeve tee. I think that's what that is, right?
That's what that looks like. I've wanted that towel for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Xbook in chat asks, what does the towel say? The towel literally says BABYMETAL in katakana.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a shirt. The shirt that went with Legend Corset Festival, I think, had this design on it as well. And I think that towel existed before too.
It did.
But I've always liked that. I mean, I think I said this last time, but I just can't get over how cool that name is. In katakana.
Yeah, it's great. I love the katakana merch, and they don't do that anymore. So every chance there is, I hop on it.
I was really confused if Moa's arm was actually in the sleeve or not, but no, she's just holding it. Why didn't they wear it?
Can you tell? Yeah, maybe.
I think you can see her finger.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they're in costume, so it probably would, even if their costumes are small.
No, look cool.
But anyway, yeah, I was going to say I think, now I'm forgetting exactly which one it is, but one of those special edition singles, maybe both of them, for IDZ and Megitsune, I think had their name written out this way. Like most of the time on anything that they've published, it's been written out in Roman letters.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, and I guess actually it must be that the Headbanger single also has this written this way, since that was for that same concert.
Yep.
Speaking of merch, I guess the other thing that's happened is quite recently we had BABYNET Volume 3, where BABYMETAL sells us merch. Did you guys? Did you watch it? What do you think?
I did watch it. It was funny. I don't really feel the need to buy any of this stuff
weird.
as neither an owner of a pet or a small human.
Right. Yeah. I wanted to want this, and I mean, I think the bowl and so they have various things. They have the pet color again. It looks the same, actually, as the one produced by Sue Metal, but this time they didn't mention it being produced by Sue Metal. And a bone romper, which I think also is... I think the bone romper and the bib are both old. Like we've had these before.
Yeah, they've done them before.
We have.
Yeah.
And there's a leash. I think that's new.
The leash is new.
Mm-hmm.
The collar's a re-release.
And I do have that, so I guess I don't need that again. And I passed on the bone romper and the bib before, so
yeah,
I passed on those again. The coolest thing actually probably is the pet bowl and the mug, which come as a set for some reason.
It's very strange. You can have a cup of tea while watching your pet eat.
Or according to Koba, you can use it as a bowl to serve snacks.
Yeah. And it's funny because he demoed that by, of course he's wearing a full face mask, so he couldn't actually eat, but he sort of like pretended to eat snacks out of this thing. Pretended to eat pretend snacks.
I was going to actually use it as a bowl myself, but actually it's not as big as I thought it was going to be, so I will use it as a cat bowl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you did get it.
I did, yes.
Very nice.
just the mug and the bowl. I don't walk my cat, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that stuff we were talking about, but the expensiveness of shipping is in large part why I really kind of hesitated on this, because I bet this stuff looks heavy. The box looks cheap, but the things look heavy. And I was just afraid this is going to wind up being like $500 to ship for something that I don't care about.
I was a little tempted by the mug.
Yeah.
Not at all tempted by the bowl. So I was put off by being a set.
I suppose you could put, like, the bowl, you could put your like Heartfest buttons in them or something, right? I mean,
it's not big enough.
Oh, you could put, well, yeah, how many? Yeah, I guess it's true. You have a, like,
I have like 30
ton of those, right?
Yeah, I have like 30 buttons or something ridiculous.
Yeah. But the actual video is pretty funny. I think I would say that this one is a funnier one than either of the previous two ones. They played no footage at all, as far as I remember. It was just Koba talking about the merch and like demonstrating. There's a point where he's like holding an actual child wearing the bone romper. He was very unhappy.
It was really cute, actually. The little kid crawling around and not being pleased with the whole situation was pretty funny and pretty cute.
Yeah. But yeah, it was very, found a particularly unhappy moment for the child.
Yeah.
And there was a very funny moment where like the baby was crawling by in the bone rompers and Koba was kind of like following it, making kitsune signs.
It was pretty funny. It's worth a watch, even if you don't want to buy
Get away
it.
from me.
Yeah. And yeah, Koba did say like, the pet collar is not for wearing by humans, even though he was wearing it. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think this got the same kind of reaction that the previous ones got, in that people thought, well, if they're going to be doing things, why not do something else? But I mean, like, as long as they're doing all the same things they would have otherwise been doing, having this also is kind of funny. I approve.
I am starting to feel a little milked, however.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, well, I guess I feel less milked because I didn't buy anything this time. I guess that's probably the only reason why this one didn't strike me that badly. But yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the fact that the postage was the same as just getting the bowl and the mug. It was the exact same price.
Uh-huh.
Well, he has a flat rate coming out of Osmart.
Yeah.
Oh,
Rubbish.
that's true. Actually, that probably would, that might not be, for some reason, the DHL from Osmart is not too bad. DHL from Tenso was the thing that killed me before. I wonder if there's a difference. Like, that flat rate, like, normally that flat rate is really annoying because you get a flag and it still costs you whatever it is. But,
that's why you get more than a flag.
yeah. But I think the flat rate, that it might actually do better than a large consolidation. Like, even something that weighed the same and was the same size from Tenso. I guess that's probably it for the news. How are we doing? Yeah, as usual, spent a half hour on the news. That's okay. So anything else that we wanted to get in before we talk about the mook?
The PETA masks went on general sale. I think but I don't really think that's noteworthy.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah. Are they still viable?
No, they sold out.
Okay. Do you have yours, right?
No, I didn't bother.
Oh, okay.
Oh, no. Oh, I got them on the first on the lottery that they did.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think we talked about this last time. That Kevin, you didn't win the lottery because you didn't enter.
Correct.
Yeah.
The PETA masks don't fit my face anyway, so they would have just sat in the box or in the closet, and I have enough things from them just sitting in a box in the closet.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, on to the Kadokawa mook. So, last time we talked through the first 3 spiritual messages. So it starts on page 114, and it's spiritual message 4. As you may recall, these are organized in eras. So this is the 2017-2018 era, and we have an interview with Sue, then an interview with Moa, then an interview with Koba. And this was basically Legend S time and Kansas City time, right? I mean, like, this is the departure
Dark
of
Ages.
departure of BABYMETAL time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting in a way. Anyone want to call out any parts? We'll start with like the Sue metal part.
So she talks about kind of, the tail end of Legend S and kind of being confused and what Paul in chat calls the Kansas City Massacre. To be honest, this section isn't really a whole lot different than kind of the party line of what they've said before about this era in Kansas City and the first kind of half of that tour in particular. They decided to continue, not stop, but leave a place for BABYMETAL to return if she chose to. The audience was huge at Legend S, but they weren't sure having 2 moving forward was going to be a good idea or not. Sue talks about how they could feel the tension in the audience. She says struggle of the audience, that everybody was shocked to see Yui gone. but they also thought they had to be excited because, that they were performing. The conflict and tension was palpable on stage, I guess would be the best way to kind of surmise her thoughts on Kansas City. One thing she mentions that I think is kind of a nice thought. She says, I could see how much they loved BABYMETAL, and I could feel how big Yui Metal's absence was. So it's a little heartbreaking to read all this stuff, but it's a lot of the same, like I said, party line stuff that we've heard from them on this era before.
Yeah, I guess so. What I got out of this, I think, is that I think this kind of put ground under what we had largely been assuming and speculating and stuff. I mean, that I think we kind of knew this story, but they'd never really said it in quite this explicit way before. There's the citation is no longer needed in a way.
Sure. I think that's fair.
So one thing they talked about that I sort of highlighted right at the beginning was that it sounds like, and you can get this out of both Sue's and Moa's interview, but that they basically were going into Legend S unsure until noon of that day whether Yui Metal was going to be there. So Sue said that they rehearsed until noon of the first show with both 2 people and 3 people versions ready. And Moa talked about actually heading out the day before to try to work out what to do if only 2 people could do it. So she said, and we'll get to that, but I mean, she said basically they didn't even have a chance to sleep. They just went out. I assume there was some time to sleep before the thing actually happened. But I mean, they basically pulled an all-nighter trying to figure out how to do this with 2 people. So that, unless if we trust that they're more or less telling us the truth, which I have no reason not to trust, then this means that it's not like this was a decision that was made at Big Fox Festival or something like that. This was really last second catching them off guard.
Yeah. And I guess it wasn't an easy decision too. They had gone back and forth. Yeah. And I think Koba even asked them what they wanted to do if Yui wasn't going to perform. And I guess they ultimately made the decision to go forward, as we know. Yeah. But I thought that was an interesting collaboration to kind of look behind the curtain at the decision making.
Yeah, I mean, so we've certainly heard a lot of discussion about that since that day, but because we don't know what happened. Even now, we don't know what happened. We don't know if this was something that was really last second. Well, it seemed last second, and there's various reasons to think that it was last second, but we've now got them saying pretty much that it was last second too.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting in here. Sue found that Legend S a little bit confusing. Because she was thinking, she had been sort of speculating about what it was going to mean to be doing this as an adult, and that she's going to have to take sort of more of a leadership and pull the rest behind. And then when she was doing it, she sort of felt more like everybody was kind of pushing her forward. And part of that I think had to do with the audience trying to fill in this space, the Yui Metal space. But she said it made her feel protected and wrapped up, and this was a very happy realization. And also sort of mentioned that she was feeling protected also by Mall Metal, and sort of observed that the 2 years that's between them, and I think it's really actually a year and a half, but is it's no longer nearly as significant. They're both basically adults now, unlike when they were 12 and 10.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting. Another thing that I think all of these made fairly clear is that again, assuming that everybody's telling the truth, at least, Yui Metal wanted to return, and was expected to possibly return, and they just didn't know when. So they basically decided they had to proceed and do something without her. They didn't want to stop until she came back, but they were always sort of keeping this possibility that she could come back in available. So again, speculation fodder for a long time, but now we at least have something to point to about what they said happened.
What's interesting, maybe this isn't the place to talk about it, but I believe in Koba's section talking about this era, they had actually already planned to kind of go into this year of darkness thing before all of this happened. You know, I know one of the popular theories, and this was something that I had always thought too, was that the whole dark era came about because they didn't know what to do with that year.
Oh, okay.
And I think that was a pretty popular theory. Kind of debunked now, I guess. They'd always planned to do something like this dark cycle.
Well, yeah, I think that so Legend S was already kind of leading into it, and Koba did say something about how essentially they were sort of waiting for that to change the visuals, and that they wanted to, but that they, I mean, I guess I always kind of went the other way, that I assumed basically they had to deal with this fact that they're no longer little girls playing metal, you know.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is probably to do a relatively radical shift. So, I mean, that's, you know, if you hadn't had whatever problems you had, I think this would have worked quite well. So, but okay, so let's see. Sue talked about, so she said, you know, we decided amongst themselves that they needed to continue and not stop based on this issue with UA Metal. And though the audience was a big help at Legend S, that wasn't really a model going forward, right?
Right.
The other thing that I thought was, that has that same sort of feeling to me about like supporting the things that we kind of believed, is that they all kind of said, we knew UA Metal couldn't be there. Like you know, this was sort of like a protracted problem, and we had to decide basically whether to keep going or not. And we decided we needed to keep going, but leave open the possibility that she could come back. You know, so like proceed, not go on hiatus, but you know, do something while keeping a spot for her. And you know, that's sort of what we thought was happening too. But they've never said this before.
No, I think I'm pretty sure they've said that, right? That you had the door was open for her to return. Maybe not in so many words they've said this, but I'm pretty sure this isn't new information.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking, is that like the in so many words is what we got here that we had never gotten before. I mean, so before they said, you know, her participation is not decided. But I mean, that could mean anything. That could have mean.
They've said in interviews before, earlier this year when they were touring, in fact, I'm like 80% confidence of this. We've heard some version of, you know, we were sad she left and we left the door open as long as we could, but she chose not to return, and we support her on her journey.
Okay. Yeah, could be. At any rate, if that's true, then we now have two places we can point to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do agree that they expanded on this and opened the door a little bit more, but the underlying idea of the door was open for her to return is not new.
Yeah, I guess it might be just that it's everybody talked about it. So Sue and Moa and Koba
right.
all you know, sort of talked through this in a way that it solidifies it somehow. But
sure,
she talked a bit about Starlight. So there's a couple of confusing things in here, but she was basically sort of like you know, talking a little bit about the things that happened in this year. You know, so there was this pair of years, you know, 2017, 2018. So this was there's Legend S. There was the, you know, beginning of the U.S. tour, and there was eventually the release of Starlight. And, you know, she talked a little bit about how she found initially Starlight to be kind of a lonely song. She was comparing it a little bit to Road of Resistance, which I think may have something to do with the previous interview. But you know, she said that with Road of Resistance she felt like part of an army, and with Starlight she felt kind of lonely. A lonely person in a helpless situation, screaming, is how Deep L came out with this.
Right.
But, or at least that's, I guess, a lot of what I'm looking at here are my paraphrases of Deep L, so that's probably even one step further away. But, she also sort of talked about, like, as she's been going through, you know, developing it, she's started to feel more connected, and now it feels a little less lonely. It feels like, you know, the more that she's getting support from everywhere, from like the universe and the stars and everyone watching over me and supporting. So she said, you know, come to think that singing it is a very happy thing, Starlight. And then she says this thing which is weird and interesting, and I don't know what to make of it. But so she says, so if she would dance this song together with us, I wonder how she would dance it. You are still with us with this song. And so I think this actually might well be kind of discussing Yui Metal. What I think she's actually talking about is when she sings the song, it brings Yui Metal to mind, and we're kind of wondering what it would have been like to do it with her.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I don't think this is over analyzing this is because it's in response to a question that had Yui Metal in it. And even though Sue doesn't say Yui Metal in the response, she uses the Japanese pronoun she, which normally she wouldn't do. I mean, like first of all, the Japanese often don't use pronouns anyway. She weirdly actually put this in quotation marks. I'm curious to know what actually she did. Like, if we ever see the video, I would like to know how she said this, because obviously she didn't say quotation marks, but
right.
But it's in there. It's in quotation marks. It's in like Roman quotation marks, even though that's not the way they write title citations and stuff like that. They use they use a different way of normally indicating quotes. It's just very strange. But I think actually, I think it actually is not really opaque or anything. I think it really is just she would have been interested to see how they would have performed it together, and she thinks of her when she sings it.
Good analysis.
So is it confirmed that this song isn't for Mikio then, or is it for Yui?
No, I actually don't think that this relates to that at all. I mean, like I think this might be what Sue thinks about when she sings it, but the song existed before that.
Yeah.
So I mean, that I think we will never know for sure, but there's certainly a lot of people who think that the theme of Starlight is really Mikio based, which seems reasonable. I don't know that they'll ever say that, but yeah, this is sort of a different thing about how, like, where Sue's mind is when she's interpreting it.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, I thought that was interesting. And it's kind of remarkable that the typography of it, it might be one of the only times, like, when they actually write the title of the song Starlight, they put it in these, like, sort of, what do you call them, corner brackets, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the normal way you would do this in Japanese, but
right. I hadn't picked up on that. That's really interesting that you caught the quotation marks. That's something I completely glanced over.
I am hoping that we see video of these. I'm not too optimistic, but still hoping.
I don't know. I think there's
because I want to see Moa be a comic.
I think there's still a good 40 to 45% chance that the special interview coming with the whatever edition you bought for the 10-year merch is this interview recorded.
No, do you think so?
I think.
Yeah, I guess I would put the odds about there.
It seems on brand for them to double down and get 2 for the price of 1.
Yeah. What would they talk about in another interview, to be honest?
Yeah, exactly.
When that's pretty much all in here.
Well, and one thing also is to consider is that this mook that we're holding made it as one of the 10 events for the, like we still have 4 left, but this was one of them. So they're taking some ownership of it, I guess. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see. Sue was talking about being kind of worried that when Yui Metal's departure was announced, she and Mo were worried that nobody would come to the Japan show, that they'd say this isn't Baby Metal, and so Sue was happy that people came anyway.
Of course we would.
Yeah, that's one place where I do kind of wonder if they fully believe what they're saying, because of course people are going to come.
It's a very Japanese idol thing to say in public when something like that happens. There
is an awareness of what things need saying.
Right.
And those things are said.
Exactly.
Okay, so next thing is Moa Metal Spiritual Message 4. So this is now talking about Legend S and Kansas City from Moa's perspective. This is where we learned about this business about, like, going the day before. So it had been elaborately prepared, of course. And suddenly they had to, like, figure out how to change things for 2 people. So she said they went to Hiroshima the day before and rearranged the formation. We didn't even have time to sleep, but we were able to get the momentum going. I can't believe that they did the first night without sleeping.
I'm sure they slept. I mean, I'm sure you've been in a situation where you needed to get something done, and you just said, "Oh, I didn't sleep at all." But in reality, you slept a couple hours, right? I'm sure that's a bit of an exaggeration. They might have done this
first and then napped.
Yeah, exactly.
Didn't I have this vague recollection, and this might be this really might be false, but from like old Sakura Gakuin days, or maybe early Baby Metal days, that like Sue would actually go to like nap during Black Baby Metal songs.
Yeah.
Like very briefly sleep.
Yeah, you're right.
So
power nap.
So I imagine she could probably, she has a history of squeezing in naps in small spaces. Samoa thought it was interesting to be under the pressure of doing these like Baby Metal songs alone. Like where normally she has the support of Yui, then she was just right out there all by herself. And so she experienced the pressure that Tsu Metal feels and found that unexpectedly valuable. Moa talked a bit about kind of losing her confidence and regaining it over the course of the tour. There's one thing that a few people picked up on. This is basically my paraphrase of it, but when Yui Metal's departure was announced, there were many people who said the old Baby Metal was better, and I still hear those opinions, says Moa. I don't know what to say to those people.
No.
So what she's kind of saying is that, so everyone has the freedom to dream. You should support, not deny your chosen path. And what she's saying that in that respect is like she supports Yui Metal and her dreams and Yui Metal's chosen path. And then she's turning back to the audience, the people who are saying the old Baby Metal is better. And she's saying, I know you love Baby Metal, and that leads you to have opinions, but we believe, we're doing a good job here. So I'd be happy if you give us a chance. She says it's like sad to be on stage with the audience's mind elsewhere. And so I think that was both with respect to, like talking about the Kansas City show where like they were performing, but everybody was kind of thinking, well, like, they were thinking about something else, like where's Yui Metal? But similarly, I think she's also in the context of what she's saying here, it's saying like, we're still doing stuff that we think is interesting. Pay attention to what we're doing now. Also,
yeah, I think it's really important that people hear that message, because there is a lot of people out there who have their opinion. They're entitled to their opinion, but man, why you got to be so negative all the time? This is straight from, from the horse's mouth here. Like, give us a chance. We think we're doing a pretty good job. I know you're sad that she left, but give us a chance. We're doing good stuff.
Yeah. And I think this is something like any artist, gets some of this, I think.
No, absolutely.
Like any band that has a second album, in fact, because there's at that point there's a split between the people who wanted you to do the first album again and the people who like you for the diversity and the fact that you did something different, and it splits every time. But I'm sure that's got to happen. It's got to happen to a lot of actors and stuff. You do some dumb thing in the 80s and then do like a lot of sophisticated stuff afterwards, and everyone comes and says you were great in that thing in the 80s before you knew how to do anything. So
it's kind of heartbreaking in a way, thinking about that she felt that she had to say that.
Yeah, I'm sure they get some, they probably hear some, at least, of what the fan base says.
I'm sure they do. It's not like they live in a bubble. They're still young ladies. They have cell phones. They have social media. Just because they're not allowed to have public stuff doesn't mean they don't see or have their finger on at least, a part of what the fan community is thinking, as a collective.
Yeah, I always kind of hope that it gets filtered for them, but I mean, they can always just go look themselves. So
yeah, I mean, have you ever Googled yourself? I think most people probably have at one point, right?
Yeah, they definitely have.
Yeah.
And in YouTube and whatnot.
Yeah. I think they're more in tune with what everybody is thinking than we give them credit for. And, part of that is because we have no way to really know what they're thinking at any given time. But I think it's naive to assume that they're so out of touch that they don't understand what people are thinking, what their fans are thinking.
Yeah. I think it might almost be the case that Sue and Moa are more in touch than Koba.
Yeah, probably.
That's what people are thinking.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. One thing I do want to quote that she mentioned, it's always hard to say goodbye, and this is kind of a follow-on to the last thing Paul was talking about. It's always hard to say goodbye, but I was more inclined to support her because it was her choice. Maybe I was just being tough on her, but I think she got mentally stronger because she trained so much in the 10 months between Legend S and the decision to leave the group. Mm-hmm. And I do want to say I think she would make an excellent politician. Just for this, when we played Doki Doki Morning for the first time, we betrayed the audience in a good way. BABYMETAL is a group that betrays expectations in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's nice.
I think that's funny.
And I think that does sort of, that highlights the fact that they were, they gave some thought to, like, what is it that makes this group special? And part of it is just surprise.
Right.
There's a little bit that went into the talking about the Dark Knight Carnival show, because Ma has repeatedly kind of talked about like how it's kind of complicated having to go from like 4 people to 7 people to 3 people, and she talks about the Dark Knight Carnival. It had gone from 4 to 7, and so we had to relearn everything. And she had to double the parts she was singing, and it was hectic and all that. But she said, and when there were so many people there, I wondered, where am I? But when I think about it now, I'm proud of my work. And this was, of course, like that was the chorus came up as everybody watched Dark Knight Carnival of like, we can't find Ma.
Yeah, I had the same thought too. Where is she?
But so I assume that's partly what she was referring to in a way.
Yeah.
But Mo's basically just saying, that going through this actually probably strengthened BABYMETAL in a way that made it possible for it to exist now. And the bonds with Sue got stronger.
Right. Another ever-present theme.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else in here?
No.
Okay. The last of the spiritual messages 4 is with BABYMETAL. Well, he talked a bit about Legend S. He said it was one of the 3 best BABYMETAL shows of all time. Possibly number 1 or number 2. Possibly number 1. I don't know. Anyway.
You should be proud. I mean, that was a spectacular. It was truly a spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most interesting thing that he mentioned that I want to talk about kind of first, because I think it warrants discussion. One of the theories I've always had, one of the things I've always said during the dark time was, I wonder if the whole dark side concept was a result of Yui leaving and they just didn't really know what to do with that year and needed to transition in some way. I was wrong. Kawa says the dark side concept was already ready before Legend S. That was going to be the gateway, taking them onto the next stage. We wanted to make BABYMETAL a character, so we didn't change the visuals until then. Red and black twin-tailed and ponytailed, and the dark side image changed to broaden BABYMETAL's scope. So I'd always thought that the whole thing was a result of them needing a solution relatively quickly for Yui's leaving. I think a lot of people kind of thought that. So it's really interesting to hear that they were already planning to do that in some way or another.
Do you think that even if Yui stayed, do you think they would have kept those 2 dancers, or they put those dancers in because Yui wasn't there?
I feel fairly confident that the change in the dancer number was a reaction to BABYMETAL.
Yeah.
But I bet they all would have had the costumes would have been there in the
the darkness.
Oh, in fact, that means quite possible that there is a BABYMETAL costume.
That could very well be.
I'll buy it. It won't fit, but I'll buy it.
Yeah, Luna asked an interesting question in chat too. I wonder what the Chosen 7 would have been if they proceeded to the Dark Era with Yui.
There's lots of theories.
Yeah, it's a good question.
I know one of the things we were originally thinking was, people were doing the math on the 4 members of the Kami band plus Yui, Moa, and Sue being Chosen 7. I remember that was a theory back in the day.
Yeah. Not one I ever bought, but okay.
Well, yeah, I'm just spitballing again. But again, I think it's really interesting that was something that they were already planning to do. And I'm kind of wondering in a parallel universe what that would have looked like.
Yeah, I'm sure it would have been different, but I think so. They were confronting a different kind of crisis that would have happened regardless of BABYMETAL, which is just that that everybody's growing up. That it's not just little kids doing metal anymore, and so they needed. I mean, I sort of feel like what they did was a little bit like, actors trying not to get typecast or whatever. They'll go from a very famous role to the opposite role or something. And or it's like a palate cleanser or something. It's kind of just trying to say, all right, this is a break in our image and we're evolving at this point. And so just an incremental change wouldn't have done that. They would have never escaped that image.
That's one of the things we'd always kind of wondered was how are they going to transition into adulthood? I've said before, it'd be kind of weird to be a 40-something pop metal idol doing Gimme Chocolate or Doki Doki Morning, right? So how do you transition the group into a more adult image? And they spent a year doing that, and that was already planned. But that does go to show that they do put a lot of thought into what this is. Yeah.
And when they came back, like the stuff that we're getting all these images of now, I mean, they did manage to put a grown-up spin on it, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can still play the old songs, but it isn't like older people pretending to be little girls.
Right.
It's older people doing older people stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
What else? Oh yeah, no, I think that that is an interesting sort of counterfactual, like possible thought experiment or whatever about like what happened if you stayed is what the reaction would be to that change, because I'm sure there would be a lot of people who would grump at Mo about how they used to be better, right? Regardless, because any change is a change. But I think it's quite possible that it got an extra bad reception because there was among the people who were already predisposed to give it a bad reception, at least,
right?
Because they also took I think a lot of people, I mean, potentially not inappropriately, but I think a lot of people were particularly unhappy about the surprise part of it.
Yes.
And then, like Legend S, whatever, that happened, but there was a choice made.
Right.
To not talk about what was going on in the U.S. tour. And I think, my reading of this is that they never knew, like, any point could have been the point when she could come back. Like, they never knew how far away that was. And it was just taking a long time. But I think they didn't know at the beginning of the U.S. tour necessarily, or at least close to the beginning of it, whether it was going to be possible for UA to show up by the end. So if that's the case, I could totally understand them not announcing it.
I don't know. I see what I see where you're going with that, but I can't excuse the lack of communication. You can think of any other performance. You go see a play and one of the leads is out and there's a insert in the program saying, tonight the role of BABYMETAL will be played by 2 bodybuilding dancers.
Yeah.
Even Legend S, they had a piece of printer paper taped up outside of Green Arena. Any other time something like this would happen, every other group would have said something. So even though she could have come back at any point during that tour and they were hoping and planning for that, they could have put the insert in the program every night until she did come back or was firmed up in not returning at all.
Yeah, because at every show during that tour, they had this picture of text. They tweeted it every night, didn't they? About no photos and blah blah blah. And they could have just mentioned that in the last bullet point.
Oh yeah, the rules. That's right.
Yeah, the rules.
The rules tweets.
The rule of no BABYMETAL in this performance.
Yeah. Where was this? The Koba has these like funny analogies. So he was talking about having to deal with this, and he says, now BABYMETAL had been playing baseball and suddenly had to play soccer. Now we had to do something completely different. BABYMETAL herself hoped to return, so we were trying to connect the threads. They were trying to do something that would allow for the possibility of her showing up again later. And it wasn't clear that it would be a good idea to have a different person there in her place while, as an understudy while she was gone. So then they had to figure out what to do to not do that, but still allow her to come back and all that stuff. So I guess I sort of feel like a lot of what he's saying here, I assumed, was happening, but we are now hearing people saying it. There's one part of this that I think would actually benefit from having a human translate it. Talking about basically BABYMETAL's decision to leave, which was, concurrent with the Starlight release. But he said that basically it was nearly a year after Legend S, and BABYMETAL's situation was basically the same. Sue and Moa had been holding things together, but the world tour in Japan was getting close. And so I think he felt like they basically had to make a call. They had to sort of make a decision. So the quote that I got from Deep L was, "But I don't think it's up to the staff or customers to say anything about it, including speculation. We wanted to leave the final ball to BABYMETAL." Which, okay, so again, it's sports. But I think my guess here was that they were sort of, they wanted BABYMETAL to make the decision, but they were sort of feeling like this is taking too long. And, so they got BABYMETAL to see that she pretty much needed to move on. So I think it was still her decision. And I think Kawa was kind of pointedly saying, it's not our decision, us, the fans. It's not, we are not the ones that should be pressuring her. She should be pressuring herself. But I think that the pressure was mounting because they were about to start a new tour and they needed to kind of plan for two if there were going to be two.
Right.
So. Oh, yeah, and actually, one more thing about this sort of theme before we leave this, I guess. Kobo was talking about Dark Knight Carnival and the switching it up for having all those dancers. And apparently, so it sounded like the plan for Dark Knight Carnival always had this, whatever it is, Broadway musical aspect with many, many, many people on stage. And so he said initially the stage plan was based on the assumption that BABYMETAL could return, and there were 3 small triangles, Sue and Yui and Moa each having a band and a Gunther. And this is Deep L's translation of something that is actually written out in katakana as Gunsa. Yeah, right? Am I reading that right, Kevin?
Where are we?
So Sue and Yui and Moa each had a bando and Gunsa. And I don't know what this Gunsa is. Deepal said Gunther.
Huh. Gunsa, yeah. I have no idea. Band and Gunsa. The toe is and.
Anyway, so it's mysterious. But the thing I thought was interesting primarily about that was that they were continuing to plan Dark Knight Carnival, at least at a certain point, with Yui in mind. That she had a role to play, and we don't know how long before the actual show they made that call. But I mean, as in the planning of Dark Knight Carnival, there was the possibility that all 3 would be there. I took what I thought was a kind of a funny note on this at the very end, and we can move on after this. But he says that the year of Chapter 7 was a turning point. We realized many things, including what we needed to change and what we shouldn't change. We learned a lot of things, and the way I read that is, they looked at what they had, they saw what worked, they saw what didn't work, but none of this has anything to do with what the fans think. I think this is Koba deciding what looks good and what doesn't.
I, just for giggles, ran Gunsa through G-Show just to see if it would come up with anything. Gunsan Nobu was an Inner Mongolian prince and politician of the Republic of China from 1871 to 1930.
Good to know.
I see.
I'm sure that has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but okay, thanks for that, G-Show.
Excellent. Okay. Anyway, so I think that is the end of the spiritual message number 4.
since we're kind of, done with the Kobe spiritual messages, I think it's worth mentioning again that, after reading more insight into the process, I think it's worth noting that I think we as a whole don't give him enough credit for what he's created and what he's doing. Mm-hmm. Even though we may disagree with a lot of the public facing side of it, the artistry side of it is very well thought out. Yeah,
definitely. It's, he does self-promote a little too, but
true.
But yeah, he's definitely giving a lot of thought to a lot of things and working pretty hard to make this work.
Really just need to hire a full-time public relations person.
And then let them do whatever it is that they think is a good idea.
Right.
That's probably that, because I think there have been public relations people who have then done nothing.
True.
So after this part, there's a couple of artist messages from people, and we don't have translations from these, but so Taka Matsumoto from Bees, and of Dada Dance, had a short little thing on page 131. Naka Risa, an actress, on page 132 had something. Chihara Seiji, a comedian, has something on page 132, and Asuka, a WWE wrestler, has something short.
Yeah, she comes out to karate, I think. Is her entrance music?
Oh, is that her? Yeah.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's that song, but I'm pretty sure that's her.
Okay.
Oh, that's cool. Pretty epic.
Cool. There's also, so on page 134, there's a sort of a beginning of a sort of set of just sort of little capsule notes about each of the 42 songs. And none of this is translated. I bet this is going to be slow to be translated. But so I think this is lyricists or musicians talking about this. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure that they're all from the same person. But there's just sort of a very short paragraph about each of the songs.
Right.
So another thing that they have, so apart from these spiritual messages and the little galleries and stuff, they have these artist profiles. So there are 3 artist profiles. One, so we just hit one from Shinsuke Nakamura, also a WWE personality. And this, it says angle. I don't know what angle is supposed to mean here. So the first profile, which I want to go back to, says voice. And the second one says angle. And the third one says lyric. So I wonder if this is maybe, I was thinking of angle as kind of presentation, take on something. But anyway, so just recently, we got the subreddit user Capable Paramedic put a translation together of this, and I suspect that I'm the only one of the 3 of us who have actually seen it. And it's very short; it doesn't really say much, but it basically says that the internet is what has allowed both me, Shinsuke Nakamura, and BABYMETAL to be sort of found abroad in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
And observes that it's Japanese is not a commonly studied language really outside of Japan. Like people use English everywhere. People use French a lot of places, Spanish a lot of places. But Japanese, it's mainly Japan and interactions with Japan.
It's hard, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But yeah, so he observes that people have to study if they want to understand what BABYMETAL's doing.
Yeah. BIRL.
And people do. Dwayne Metal, one of Dwayne Metal's videos started off talking about, I think it was an article about somebody's Finnish classes were filling up because metalheads wanted to know what their favorite band was saying or something like that. But it's the same sort of thing, and that's what Dwayne Metal was doing, really, was trying to teach you Japanese by leveraging the fact that you were interested in BABYMETAL.
Mm-hmm.
But so another thing that we just got a translation of was the first of the 3 artist profiles. This was voice, and this actually we skipped over last time. It was back on page 64. I looked around a little bit to try to find who this person was, and I wasn't very successful, but the translator managed to locate her. But so this is Hiroku Yamazaki, who is a music voice journalist, and the founding director of the Sound People Mind Institute and a member of the Japanese Society for Music Perception and Cognition. So this is kind of a voice brain academic specialist of some sort. Also a sort of a journalist. And it's pretty interesting. I mean, like, I don't know that we need to talk a whole lot about it, but she's basically analyzing Sue's voice and Moa's voice a little bit, sort of making the observation that so let me just sort of mention the basic idea. She's sort of talking about the effect that like low bass tones have on your mood and brain and stuff, and also sort of similarly the effects of high pitched things, and was sort of talking about how like bass things tend to have a kind of like a calming effect. And so she was actually sort of intuitively talking about the metal bass stuff as being sort of soothing in a way, like a calming effect that is then activated by Sue's high pitched voice coming in. You know, that you sort of calm people down with the music, and then sort of activate them with the higher pitched vocals. Which it's interesting, and apparently based in brain studies. So, but yeah, I mean, she basically she says, Sue's got a kind of like a surprising range and surprisingly long vocal cords for how short she is.
Oh.
Which I thought was kind of funny. And I also talked a little bit about, everyone's voice is changing and becoming sort of stable at around age 22. Like that's just sort of like the human time when your voices are fairly stable. So Sue's is basically stable now, and Moa's is getting there. It's still changing, but getting there. And talked a little bit about Moa's sort of center pitch and a kind of neutrality of Moa Metal's voice, and said it would be interesting to hear a duet between them. So.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
That would be really cool.
Oh, please, Koba.
Seriously.
Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting having a music brain scientist come in.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, it wouldn't have been my first thought as to like who are we going to include in this, but anyway, there it is. I don't know. There's actually a number of things that we don't have translations for. So there's some discussion of the festivals and stuff. Maybe we can. The next thing that's sort of interest is there's a gallery. This is page 147. BABYMETAL 4 Big Festival in Japan Conquest.
Right, so the first page of the pictures is just all the photos from when they performed at Summer Sonic. Even when they were tiny in 2012. Was that first picture the one they did in the food court?
I think it must be. I think so.
So I know that was the first one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Must have been.
2018's missing.
Is it? Is it?
Was there one? Did they skip one? Was there one?
Did they? I don't think they played in 2018.
Interesting.
Because I don't think they haven't those warrior costumes that they did in America and Europe. They didn't have those costumes in Japan. They just went straight to the Chosen Seven costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't think they played in 2018. Oh, we need to Google this.
That's gotta. I bet that hurts Kawa.
Yeah.
He likes
probably
sequences and numbers and things. And yeah, I think this whole section is basically just promoting the fact that they hit these big 4 festivals.
Yeah.
Actually, the text that comes before it is I think also talking about that, but we don't know really what it says. It's just they've conquered the festivals.
Right.
Yeah, all those first ones are the Japanese festivals. Yeah, they're all Japanese. And then it goes on to the Apocalypse Tour with Wembley and Download and then Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, and I guess in a way these are kind of like just remember when kind of photos or whatever, because they're all photos we've seen many times.
Yeah.
But
they have been places.
Yeah.
And that amazing photo of Sue in 2018 when she's with the karate sign.
Yeah,
Absolutely
I was going to call that out if you hadn't.
Yeah.
That's got to be like one of my favorite photos of her.
Yeah, like the lighting, just the fact that it's so central, and her hand is just perfectly symmetrical to her face.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And you have a demonstration of how far her fingers bend.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's this photo actually, more than almost anything else, is the thing that makes me sort of sympathetic to the Dark Knight Carnival costumes, because this is really like it shows it in a very good light. It's very intricate. It's very artistic.
Oh yeah, it's probably the most intricate costume that they've done. Although the recent costume is pretty, well, it looks like it's very hard to make. Very
I'm
detailed.
sure there are people who have tried.
Oh, they have, and they've done a really good job. Oh, now we're on to the. Are we moving on to the costumes?
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting. I think Faku had a spreadsheet or something, or maybe it was not a spreadsheet, but just like a gallery of these before. But it's neat that there's a sort of official one now.
Yeah. Oh, it's just so nice to see all these costumes.
Those first ones are very funny.
Yeah.
I think we know from a diary or something that they're all like borrowed, like they were just like clothes that were around, like staff member had one of them, and like something else was somebody's old thing. And
if you're in Tokyo, you can go see those costumes.
The BABYMETAL logo behind that photo with Sue with the checkered shirt on. I've never seen that logo before.
That's their very earliest one.
Ooh.
I mean, I guess it's not surprising because this is also the very earliest photo. But
yeah,
I think you can find that. So they had what was this message? Is that the there was a cover. What album was that on? Headbanger.
Oh man, was it Message? I'd have to go look.
Actually, but this might not be Headbanger. This might be Doki Doki Morning. But anyway, there was a special cover that I think you could get at Tower. That, like one of them was a Mini Putty cover, and one was a BABYMETAL cover, and I think there's probably like a Sleepy's cover also. And that had this logo on it too. Like I think that might be what this photo is actually. That is really rare. I saw that come by on Yahoo Japan auctions at one point. It, I watched it as the price went up and up. It's dumb because it's just like a little 5-inch square, right? I mean, like it's a 5-inch glossy square that you can put in your CD case if you want.
Right, and it was Message, by the way. You were right.
Uh-huh. But it is funny. I think it is interesting to sort of see the evolution of the concept like that. That really wasn't the direction they went. This like sort of almost like grunge band look. But I think it does sort of fit with that initial idea of it's like, little kids playing metal.
Mm-hmm.
Putting on the clothes that were nearby and rocking out.
Yeah. They did keep the black and red costumes for quite a long time, really.
They did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the long reigning theme.
It does seem like the red sort of got diminished over time. But.
Yeah, because it was the shock of Wembley, and they came out with the costumes mostly black, with there's a hint of red on the sleeves and the collar. And I was just like, oh no, the red is gone. The red tutus are gone.
Oh yeah, although I really like that costume. The Wembley costume is really, really good.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they wore that one a lot.
Yeah. And
then they went back to the red slightly red and black tutus for Tokyo Dome.
Right.
Night 2.
Yeah, those were sort of interesting because they were so. It was like red highlights or something like that. I mean, like it was mixed with a lot of black.
Yeah, I really love that. Well, they haven't showed the black and gold costume for Tokyo Dome, though.
It does seem like that's not represented here.
No.
I liked that one too. I think people are kind of split on that one.
What would you say your favourite costume is?
2015.
Oh, is that
the trilogy? The last of the red tutu.
You think? Yeah.
Oh, is that the one they did at Yokohama with the tail?
Yeah. Well, it was an evolution of that one. I go back and forth on tail.
Yeah, I'm mostly fourth. I'm not. The tail always looks a little weird to me.
Yeah, the Met Rock version of that costume.
Oh yeah, with the gold pipe, and that's the costume I made. My favorite is the 2018 warrior costume.
That one is really cool. Mm-hmm. That one grew on me a lot.
Yeah, I do, just because I love that their hair's down. It's just so nice.
Yeah, I agree.
No, it really looks good.
I wasn't really a fan of the headband thing.
No, I do like it though.
Do you?
It kind of completes the costume.
Yeah, Cat likes it too.
Cat agrees.
Yeah. Laying on the floor, stroke me.
I actually really like the current costume also. I sort of feel like I'm a little saturated with it at the moment, so I can't quite see how much I like it, I think. But,
no.
I think when there's a different one, I will like it again.
Right.
Oh, yeah, they're always so cool.
Should we soldier forward?
But, yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right, we've made it to Spiritual Message 5, the last of the spiritual messages. This is now page, 162, I guess. And so for this one is the most recent era, 2019-2020, and they have Su-metal and Mo-metal together. And then Koba's got a separate one.
Right out the gate, Moa says, I don't want people to think that BABYMETAL is back. I'm not back. It's a new BABYMETAL. It's the current formation in the midst of constant evolution, so we're going to continue to evolve. That's funny to me because I'm pretty sure right after I got out of Yokohama, I tweeted, BABYMETAL is back.
Yep. And she saw it and she's reacting to it.
Right. It's like, oh, well, now I feel bad for saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. So they talk. This is where they got to talk about Legend M, and sort of planning it and trying to figure out how to feature Moa more in it, make it an unforgettable day like Legend S was for Sue. Well, she said, at least I transcribed this as it makes me cry. I was so happy to have the celebration of my 20th birthday in my hometown, Nagoya. I was the lead vocalist for Headbanger. The moment I stood in the center and held the microphone, it was a great feeling. At the same time, I felt the greatness of Su-metal, who always stands in the middle and sings all the parts. I think I was really able to learn a lot of things at that show.
And Sue just says, I had a lot of fun dancing Mo-metal's part.
Yeah.
And I can picture that, and it makes me laugh.
Like this actual interaction.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in that part for long, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Like here's this, nice message and thought from Mo-metal speaking to the interviewer, and then so she's like, I had a lot of fun dancing.
Yeah.
Very on brand.
It is. And Moa says the guitar thing made the performance very special. Only the Fox God knows whether I'll be playing guitar in the future. So again, we have further reasons to think that at least Moa thought she was playing the guitar in Shine.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I think when this was new, people were interpreting this as Moa was saying that she wants to do more lead vocaling. I don't think that's what she's saying. I think she was saying this was really interesting doing this. I don't think she was saying anything about like what she might want to do in the future. Although the guitar, maybe she is saying that she might want to do that in the future. That does sound like it's a little bit more up in the air. Sue mentioned that the U.S. tour included places we played live in the past and didn't go so well. And I thought, yeah, that's true. I think we all thought when Kansas City got a second visit that it really had to do with the fact that they had the first visit. Like, they're not going to go back to Kansas City twice, probably.
Yeah. Except
for that.
Yeah.
Nothing against Kansas City, but it is a little bit random.
Yeah.
It's a little remote.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things that I had noticed during the U.S. tour, after the forum, you could see almost a refreshed lightness or mood on stage. And Moa says, the whole thing was an accomplishment. We had to practice songs prepared for the forum. It was hard. It wouldn't have been possible without being with BABYMETAL. But it gives me a great set of accomplishments, so maybe I don't mind the hard things. And I think you could see that in their performances, because they had to work on the forum that whole tour, basically. I think they had a week off between their last show and the forum or something like that. So they were constantly rehearsing the new material, when they got a chance, I think. And you could see the relief and accomplishment in the remaining 4 shows after the forum of that tour. And I think that comment from Moa kind of reinforces that idea of what I saw.
Yeah, it is really interesting to think about that. The fact that they had been, surely rehearsing Dada Dance through that whole time.
Mm-hmm. Well, they had to keep Shine alive, right? They did Shine.
Yeah.
Did they play Arcadia too? I don't remember. I think they did. That was part of the encore, right? I don't remember.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
So yeah, they had to keep 3 songs that weren't in the daily set list kind of presentable before they could really, drill down on them during rehearsals for the forum.
It is interesting that they know these things. They know we want to hear these things, and they know it's not time yet.
Right.
They're not going to show them to us yet. Not only because they're not perfect yet, but because they're it's not the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was going to say about the forum. I find it kind of frustrating that I barely remember what happened there. I mean, like I have the video and I listen to it, but and I can kind of remember the sense of being there. But I feel like there's a lot of that show that well, I don't know. I mean, I guess as I sort of think through it, but I'm losing my own perspective a little bit, and it's being replaced by the videos.
It was not very long ago in perspective, but God, it feels like ages ago.
Yeah.
Oh, doesn't it? Yeah. The whole day was really fun, though.
Yeah,
it was.
Queuing up all day with other fans is just such a highlight for BABYMETAL shows. And it was so hot. Well, it was really hot for me anyway.
Yeah, it was pretty warm.
It was. Yeah,
it was unseasonably warm.
And there was like a big parking lot with no place that had shade. I mean, it was just like a little
gathering under the trees.
That was sort of a mess, but it was, I'm glad I did it. It was fun to do.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's see. So Sue talked about there's another place, people got kind of excited because they saw like U-metal in print. But Sue was sort of talking about like the this trilogy of lights, Starlight, Shine, and Arcadia, kind of like being a summation of the year. And so she kind of identified Starlight, the release of Starlight, the date of the release of Starlight with the date that U-metal was decided she was going to leave. And then half a year later, they performed Arcadia. And then Shine was performed first at Nagoya. And she said, actually, whatever, the thing that I thought was kind of interesting is that she said, I can't forget that performance of Shine at A Legend M. I don't know how to say it. We didn't actually hold hands, but it was like we were walking hand in hand because there's already something invisible between me and Metal here.
Moa nods, smiles.
Yeah. But it was sort of that one performance of that one song. That was the closest thing to sort of like a duet they have done. That was really neat. It was designed for 2.
Mm-hmm. It was spectacular. It's so special. I still watch that regularly.
Mm.
Moa nodded and smiled.
Yeah. Right. So let's see. They talked a little bit about the EU tour, and everybody talked about how cold it was.
Oh, it was so cold. And have you noticed that Sue mentions that also the food varied? And Moa didn't even mention the food.
Yeah. Sue said it was her first time in Northern Europe, and she was surprised. I don't know what this meant exactly, but she was surprised somehow by the variety of things in Russia. Maybe she just had a very two-dimensional view of Russia.
Could be.
Ooh, so cold.
Yeah.
Got to visit 4 places in England.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo.
Yes.
It's like their second home. Isn't that what they say?
That's what they say.
4 places in the UK. 2 in England.
Okay. All right.
Oh, sure.
Sorry.
Wales and Scotland are separate.
Yeah. Sue said that they sort of talk a little bit about how they're older now, and Sue says that she sort of feels a bit more scared as she gets older. Like she doesn't feel pressure, and she doesn't get that nervous, but nevertheless there's kind of like a fear that comes with age.
Yeah, probably just more aware of what people will think and whatnot.
Yeah, and Moa's. I guess she's responding to something the interviewer was saying, but Moa said something along the lines of, I think you overestimate how well known BABYMETAL is. There's not that much pressure. Wherever I go, there's many people I haven't met yet, and I don't think we've achieved world domination yet. When we get there, then I'll feel pressure. Moa again being hilarious. The interview is done in sort of modern times, and so there's at least a little bit of a acknowledgement of the pandemic present. Sue says that she wants to keep, despite that, despite the shutdowns and all that stuff, she wants to keep showing what BABYMETAL can do, and so she's still looking forward to meeting you all and overcoming this hurdle like other hurdles. Okay, so I think the next and last of the spiritual messages is Koba's. So again, it's a little bit more sort of like about the lore, but he talked a little bit about the formation of the Avengers, and he talked again about liking pro wrestling. He thought that this whole thing should be sort of cast within some kind of story or drama. So not just adding support dancers, but adding some kind of like story with protagonists that goes along with this. And he gives these examples that I don't, understand exactly, but he wanted the protagonists to fit in so it wouldn't be like having a character from Dragon Ball showing up in Doraemon. I don't know if this means anything to. It probably means something to somebody, but I guess these are two different shows.
Yes, they are different shows.
So the idea of the Avengers actually, it really does seem like he did have the actual Avengers concept in mind, with like all kinds of heroes fused together from different places. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't completely just like Avengers sounds like a cool word.
Right.
Yeah.
Talked a little bit about Glastonbury being kind of a big challenge. They had to be like in motion right after the second day of the Yokohama show. No rehearsals, some technical problems, different staff, different environment, different sound, and the sound of Glastonbury. At least, I think the recorded sound, at least, if not the on the ground sound, was not good.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was the show where we had the accidental background mics.
Yeah, right at the start. Yeah, it was on the stream.
Yeah. It was pretty hilarious.
That's the one, yeah. And it was Sue singing Megitsune as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just testing the mic. It was like,
Right, and also sort of like testing different notes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so talking about Metal Galaxy and Papaya, Koba said that Metal Galaxy has the theme of traveling the world with metal, which I guess we sort of deduced. For Papaya, I was working on the song in Asia, and I wanted a popular Thai rapper to rap in Thai, so I contacted him through the contact form or something like that on the website.
It's so wild to me.
I mean, it does seem like this really is... It's like, class video project level stuff. It's amazing that it works.
Like, that's something I would have done.
Yeah. What I told him about the images of the collaboration, Koba's idea of what this was going to look like, was Beauty and the Beast. So F-Hero makes the song exciting. Anyway, yeah. I guess just the last note about the pandemic, right? So after Moscow, everything got canceled. So
right.
We wanted to do something with the theme "Stay Home, Stay Metal," which we did in the form of online showings of previously released shows on YouTube. And to make it more like a show, we had reprinted goods from the time. And so Koba's idea is that this is a way to make it more like a live show rather than a way to sell merch.
And, make some money.
Yeah. And we wondered whether we could do something to help the Rockmecon.
We'll have that to talk about on the next episode.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
So it's next week.
It is next week.
Yeah.
That's going to be...
Oh, it's going to be so good.
I'm going to be on Japan time because BABYMETAL is like the next day. the next
Oh,
day.
are they doing one as well? That's cool.
Yeah. I'm going to be up really late for a couple of days.
Yeah. So worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty great. Okay. So anyway, I think we made it through the most major things that are in here. So there are some further things that might be worth a quick mention. The next thing in the mook is, you might recall that we were asked as a fan base to come up with 10 words that describe baby metal, or what baby metal means, or something like that. And then we were asked to, I don't know, just to fill out a little form with a little paragraph or whatever. I think this is it. I think this is the result of that. None of it is in English. So the dream of having some of our English commentary get in there was crushed.
Right.
The next thing that is maybe interesting is the rare item collection. So
yeah.
And of course, this isn't all of the rare items, but
no, there's far more rare items on there.
But it is kind of fun to see, like, which of these things do I have? Which of these things do you have?
Like, just tick off the ones that you have.
I don't. I mean, like, there are plenty that I don't.
No, yeah, of course. Well, the first one out of the pages, I have the Baby Metal death masks. I actually wore it today.
Ah. Okay. Cool. Oh, I see. Yeah, I see what you're saying. And so the mask, like the pandemic type masks, that kind of mask, not the fox mask.
Oh yeah, not the not the fox mask. No, I'll just walk around the supermarket with my fox mask.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So on the first page they have this 2013 Baby Metal Apocalypse book. That thing is actually really pretty cool. That took me a while to get, and it was not cheap to get, but I have a version of that. And it has basically it's a bunch of photos, and it's like lyrics illustrated by the members. And one version of it has a CD, like a special CD with it. I don't have that. I don't have the special CD, but anyway, this is sort of the thing that predated the one. Was sort of the setup of that. And at the end, actually I think the last of the pieces of it comes in several pieces, but the last of the pieces is like a pop-up kind of like landscape thing.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, basically. And then I don't have, there's a Legend IDZ box set that comes with like a hood thing. Hooded towel. I do not have that.
No, I don't.
Or the corset. There's the Budokan, which I forever. I really love these like little bits of humor. So, what actually annoys me. So this is the Budokan Red Knight, Black Knight, the one set basically, but it comes in this octagon can. Is it an octagon? Maybe it's a hexagon. I don't know. But anyway, it comes in this this can, and on the box it says Budokan, which it annoys me that it doesn't actually say that on the tin. It's only on the box outside. But I find that very funny. And so that comes with these little like keychain coffins and things like that.
We've talked everybody's ears off.
I know,
everybody's
there's
leaving
only
in
one
the
person
chat.
left.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
We are at about 2 hours.
Yeah. Are we really?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we are.
Good grief. Okay, we're almost done. Let's not do a part 3.
No.
Is there anything? So I will. I'll just call out a specific things that are in here rather than go through them all. But I really like the Magic Circle Pyramid. It's like a Rubik's Cube type thing in a pyramid shape.
I do have that, but it's so cheap.
Yeah.
As in, like, it's like cheaply made. It's actually quite expensive, but it's just stickers on some plastic, literally like a Rubik's Cube.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I really like this as a concept. I think it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Only at a distance.
Yeah.
Because it's like mine doesn't even fully work. I mean, like there's one of the pieces is like slightly broken.
Oh. Yeah, it doesn't kind of twist as fluidly as I thought it would, but
So it looks nice, but it's not fun. They have one of the more ridiculous things they've had is a symbol case bag in 2016 with like the Tokyo Dome like rose design or whatever. But
oh yeah,
I mean, like, how many other fans have symbols to carry around? And they lack a bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Funko Pops.
Yeah, I kind of hope that someday there'll be new ones.
Oh, I got loads of people to submit a form requesting the new outfits.
Nice.
I kind of started something, so maybe we'll hear something from that. I don't know.
That would be nice. I don't know if we will, but it would be nice.
No. Well, if you're listening to this, please go onto the Funko Pop website and submit a request for the new costumes.
Yeah, exactly.
That would be cool.
A fair amount of what remains are artist messages from various artists. So, and a lot of these are in English, so you can read them yourself, and they actually don't really say very much, to be honest. They're all like, congratulations, it's been a joy, that kind of thing. So they have Jay Weinberg from Slipknot, they have Rob Halford from Judas Priest, Ollie Sykes from Bring Me the Horizon, and Herman Lee from Dragon Force. Herman Lee's probably the most elaborate of these messages.
Yeah. Just turning the page, it's like, whoa.
Yeah. And it's this little sort of like humble brag. It's like, we're pretty picky about who we work with. but we were excited to work with BABYMETAL. One thing that I do that was made, I think, even clearer here than from the Twitch stream before was that Road of Resistance was basically written by somebody else. I mean, like, Road of Resistance was written in the style of Dragon Force and delivered to Dragon Force. And then the Dragon Force people, added their guitars. It wasn't as much of a collaboration as I kind of thought. Anyway, that was interesting. And there's Mikako Metal special message as well. Given that I'm feeling the pressure of the time, if maybe we can bundle this Mikako Metal one with the next one that we get from PMC or whatever it is.
We can add that section in.
I'm not sure that there's not a huge amount new here. Like we mentioned, I think last time we recorded that Mikako also observed that after the Wembley show, Yui and Ma particularly were not happy with their performance somehow. I'm going to have to go watch that thing and try to figure out what it is they think they did wrong. I don't think...
Yeah, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah. But then I guess basically what's left after that is it's a list of their shows and like some kind of glossary.
It's like a timeline.
If you wanted to see what the meaning of BABYMETAL Apocalypse is, you can look that up and it will tell you in Japanese. That sort of thing. Fox sign, Fox day. But so anyway, I guess I would say that concludes the Kadokawa book. Are we happy with that? Everybody's like, please stop.
Please close your textbooks.
There's a event called the Ig Nobels, which is rewarding. Basically, there's like what seems to be kind of ridiculous scientific research, like people studying things that should have been obvious, or just ridiculous, or something like that. And there's an award show that they have every year. And as part of that thing, they they have the people who are receiving the awards give a little acceptance speech, and they're analog to playing people off, like at the Oscars or whatever, where they just like bring the music up to get people to stop talking. The analog to this in the Ig Nobels is they have like a little kid come in from the side and start like tugging on the person's shirt saying, I'm bored, until they stop.
I can see Moa doing that.
Yeah. I'm just thinking maybe particularly of this with respect to me talking at the moment. Okay. Anything else we should be saying?
I don't think so.
No, just looking forward to the next live show.
Yeah.
Stream next week.
Yeah, that's amazing how soon that is.
Yeah.
I can't quite grasp it, but so we will have had a week to process it next time we convene. So,
I'm
and that's going to be the
definitely
main
gonna.
thing.
Yeah, as I'm watching, I think I'm going to write notes because I want everything to be fresh in my mind to speak about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do. I think I will probably... I wonder if they'll let us see it a second time. Like,
there's an archive.
Because we paid for the stream. Okay, yeah.
There's an archive.
You have to pay again.
Right.
And buy another shirt.
Congratulations, by the way, to Xbook in our chat, who is the last one remaining. After our marathon recording. But back when we were doing the news, I kind of thought, there's not that much left of this, so we can stretch out the news. Very, very bad idea.
Yeah.
But, okay. Anyway, I will close it. So that's it for this episode. Hooray! You can join us on the Baby Metal Podcast Discord server to continue the conversation. Rating the podcast on whatever platform you listen on will help people find us, so please do that. We'll be back here in about 2 weeks. We hope you'll join us then, and until then, see you.